Let me ask you something personal, and I want you to answer it with honesty. Why are you working so hard? Day after day, week after week. You show up at your job, don't you? You hustle, you grind, maybe even put in overtime. But here's the real question. Is your bank account growing as fast as your stress levels? Now pause for a second. Because Robert Kiyosaki, the man behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad, teaches something most people never hear in school, at work, or even from their parents. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Sounds strange, right? But this simple shift separates the financially free from the perpetually frustrated. Let me explain why. The myth of working hard at your job. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who worked 12 hours a day, but still struggled financially? Maybe it's even you. See, working hard on your job makes you a living, but working hard on yourself, that's what builds your fortune. Most people spend years polishing their resume, but they never think to polish their mindset. Why? Because they were taught wrong. Society drills into us. Go to school, get good grades, get a safe job. But Robert Kiyosaki flips that idea upside down. He says your income will never permanently exceed your personal development. Yes, sometimes life hands people a lucky break, a job promotion, a bonus, maybe even a lottery win. But unless you grow into the kind of person who can handle that success, it'll vanish, like water slipping through your fingers. Ever heard stories of lottery winners who went broke, or athletes who made millions but ended up bankrupt? That's the principle in action. Money flows back to where it feels safe, and that's usually the hands of those who've built the right mindset. So here's the painful truth. If someone gave you $1 million today, but you still thought like a poor person, that million wouldn't last long. Money doesn't make you rich. Growth does. Kiyosaki teaches that success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Not physically attractive. Calm down. We're talking mentally, emotionally, financially attractive. And the way to do that, it starts with personal development. Because real wealth, the kind that lasts, isn't about what you have. It's about who you become. Let me tell you a story. Imagine two people standing side by side. One's carrying a golden egg, the other owns the goose. Now tell me who's richer. That's the difference between working harder on your job, the egg, and working harder on yourself, the goose. Jobs give you eggs, self-growth. That's the goose that lays them for life. If you're tired of being stuck, if you're ready to flip the script on your financial story, here are 3 steps. Inspired directly from Kiyosaki's teachings, explained simply and practically. Before we move on, if something deep inside you just whispered, "I needed to hear that," don't ignore it. Hit like as a reminder that today marks the day you start building, not just dreaming. And subscribe, because this isn't just another motivational channel. This is where you and I build your future, step by step, habit by habit, together. Think of it like this. Every time you click that button, you're casting a vote for the future version of you. The one that doesn't settle, the one that wins. Join the journey, subscribe, and let's get to work. Let's find out. Let's build. Step 1. Learn how things actually work. Let me be blunt. Your problem isn't money, it's lack of ideas. You think you're broke because you don't have money. No. You're broke because you don't have the right ideas about how to create money. Think about this. Have you ever noticed that the same people who complain about being broke somehow have the latest smartphone, streaming subscriptions, and overpriced coffee? That's not a money problem. That's a thinking problem. Kiyosaki's mentor told him, if you don't have money, that's not your problem. Your real problem is that you lack an idea that can make you money. Here's the hard truth. Wealth is created in the mind before it's ever built in your bank account. So how do you get those wealth-building ideas? You study, relentlessly. Want to be rich? Study wealth. Want to be happy? Study happiness. Want to be successful? Study success. Success isn't a lottery ticket. It's a subject, and like any subject, you can learn it. But only if you stop leaving your future to chance. Don't just cross your fingers and hope to win financially. Kiyosaki says, Treat success like a serious student treats their exams, because one good idea can rewrite your entire life. Example: Kiyosaki's idea of assets versus liabilities revolutionized millions of lives worldwide. Simple but powerful. Buy assets that put money in your pocket. Avoid liabilities that take money out. That single idea has built empires. What's your next wealth-building idea? Maybe you haven't learned it yet, because you're not studying where money actually grows. Step 2. Build a library, not just a life. Robert Kiyosaki learned early that readers are leaders. In fact, every wealthy person he knows is a reader. Why? Because books let you borrow wisdom you didn't have to earn the hard way. Think about this. One good book might save you 5 years of trial and error. One new idea from a mentor could multiply your income tenfold. Yet most people binge Netflix and scroll social media while complaining they're stuck. So here's a simple challenge. Read 30 minutes a day. That's it. Not just any reading. Read strategically. Books on wealth building, stories of successful people, lessons on leadership, influence, negotiation, investing, mindset. If you're too busy to read, you're too busy to grow. And don't just read once. Kiyosaki emphasizes repetition. Go over key ideas again and again until they sink in. He says, don't use your head as a filing cabinet. Use a journal. When you learn something valuable, write it down, review it, apply it. Because repetition isn't boring, it's how you rewire your brain for wealth. Also, you want the shortcut. Buy dinner for a rich person. Here's where Kiyosaki adds a humorous twist. If you're serious about growing, don't just read books. Buy dinner for someone more successful than you. Yes, actually pay. You might think, why should I buy dinner for someone richer? Simple, because their ideas are worth far more than the meal. Kiyosaki jokes that poor people say, he's rich, he can pay for his own dinner, but that's exactly why they stay poor. They're focused on the cost, not the opportunity. Imagine spending $100 on a meal that unlocks $1 million idea. Wouldn't that be worth it? Wealthy people drop golden nuggets in casual conversations, and if you're smart enough to listen, those nuggets can change your life. Here's what Robert Kiyosaki wants you to understand. Working hard at your job makes someone else rich. Working hard on yourself builds your own wealth. Stop perfecting skills that build someone else's empire. Start mastering ideas that build your freedom. Remember, money doesn't solve money problems. Ideas do. And the person you become is always more valuable than the money you make. So what's your next move? A quick question for you. Will you scroll past this like every other motivational message? Or will you pick up a book, take notes, seek mentors, and finally start building wealth the way Robert Kiyosaki teaches? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and I'll personally drop a heart on your reply. And hey, if you're finding this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep growing together. The choice, as always, is yours. Go to work, but not how you think now. Back to work. But this isn't about punching the clock at your 9 to 5. Kiyosaki's definition of work is different. He says, get excited about your ability to make yourself do what needs to be done. In other words, discipline. Think about it. What could you make yourself do starting tomorrow that would change your life? Maybe read for 30 minutes. Maybe wake up an hour earlier. Maybe invest your first $100. Most people wait for motivation. Kiyosaki calls this the biggest trap. He says, self-motivation is the only kind of motivation that exists. Why? Because what happens if the motivational speaker doesn't show up? Or that friend who always pushes you quits calling? You're stuck. You can't outsource your growth. You've got to drive yourself. So how do you build self-motivation? Through mastering small disciplines. Get excited about the small wins. Make your bed every morning. Read one chapter. Save $5. Why? Because small disciplines build the muscle needed for the big battles. It's like going to the gym. You don't start by lifting 200 pounds. You start small, build strength, and prepare for bigger lifts. Life's the same. Handle the small stuff so you're ready when the big opportunities or challenges arrive. Kiyosaki warns, if you can't handle the small ones, you won't survive the big ones. And here's the kicker. discipline itself becomes addictive. Once you realize you can make yourself do difficult things, you become unstoppable. Step 3. The secret most people overlook: observation. Let me ask you something that might sound simple but could change everything. When was the last time you just watched? Not scrolled, not rushed, not judged, just watched. You see, Robert Kiyosaki teaches that success leaves clues, but most people are too distracted to notice. Think about it. If someone's consistently earning $10,000 a month, don't you think it's worth paying attention to how they're living, talking, walking, thinking? Kiyosaki puts it this way: if a man's making $10,000 a month, maybe it's his walk. Funny, but there's wisdom beneath the joke. Because wealth, confidence, leadership, these aren't just internal ideas, they show up externally in behaviors, habits and decisions. But here's the tragedy: most people are too busy envying successful people to actually study them. They judge instead of observe. So what's the move? Become a professional observer. Watch how successful people greet others. Notice how they dress. Listen to how they handle conversations, meetings, decisions, because success is built from small behaviors repeated over and over. And if you're sharp, you can pick up those patterns. Let me share a story. A young man once asked a millionaire for his secret. The millionaire smiled and said nothing. Instead, over dinner, he watched how the millionaire listened more than he spoke, how he asked questions before giving opinions, how he treated the waiter with respect, and when he paid, he tipped generously, but discreetly. That young man left with no direct advice, but a wealth of insight. Why? Because he observed. Kiyosaki teaches that there are two ways to see. 1. Sight, seeing with your eyes. 2. Insight, seeing with your mind. Average people use sight. Wealthy people use insight. When you start observing not just with your eyes but with your mind, you stop asking what do they have and start asking what do they know that I don't. That's where the gold is. So starting today, here's your mission. Wherever you are, be there. Pay attention. Don't miss the clues. Success leaves all around you. Are you getting value so far? If yes, drop a fire emoji in the comments so I know you're with me. I'm reading every reply and dropping hearts. One sololon. And if this is hitting home for you, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Don't try to cheat the game now. Here's where Kiyosaki gives a powerful caution. Don't try to beat the system. Some people learn just enough about money, success, or personal growth to start cutting corners, skipping steps, looking for hacks, chasing easy money. Sound familiar? Maybe it's crypto shortcuts, shady schemes, or get-rich-quick promises. Kiyosaki calls this slicing the system. And here's the brutal truth. You can't cheat your way to lasting wealth. Sure, you might get lucky once or twice, but life has a funny way of balancing the books. Kiyosaki says, don't fall for cheap answers, or you'll end up with a cheap life. Instead, play the long game. Learn how the system works. Respect the process. Build wealth the honest, sustainable way, because doing it right might seem slower, but it lasts. Reach inside and change your life. If Kiyosaki sat down with you one-on-one, and you asked him, what should I do starting tomorrow? He'd likely say this: reach inside yourself and pull out more of those remarkable human gifts you've been ignoring. Courage, discipline, curiosity, grit, they're already inside you. You're not lacking talent, you're just not activating it. He'd tell you, you don't ever have to be the same again after today, only by choice. Because here's the final truth. If you don't change something tomorrow, the next 5 years will look just like the last 5. Let that sink in. What will you do differently tomorrow to rewrite your future? It doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be deliberate. Pick up that book. Pay attention in conversations. Observe successful people instead of judging them. Start small disciplines. Play the long game. Because any day you wish, you can change your entire life. Question is, will you? And if this video made you pause, if it made you think about your future self, the version of you 10 years from now, then don't just scroll past. Hit the like button. Not for me, but as a signal to YouTube that this kind of message matters in a world full of distractions. And if you're serious about building real wealth, not just in your bank account, but in your habits, your discipline, and your mindset, then hit subscribe. Join a community that's not chasing get rich quick, but building get free forever. Because remember, wealth isn't a jackpot, it's a journey. One habit at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. See you in the next one. We appreciate you.